You know, there's something rather unusual about a certain kind of person. They walk into a room and instantly feel everything. The tension between two friends pretending to get along, the sadness hiding behind a practiced smile, the quiet resentment lingering under polite conversation. We're often told this is a gift, a mark of sensitivity, intuition, even wisdom. But I want to offer a different perspective. What if this clarity, this deep perception, isn't purely a gift at all? What if it's one of the most dangerous things a human being can possess? And I don't mean dangerous in the physical sense. I mean something subtler, quieter, a danger that doesn't bruise the body but disorients the soul. The kind of danger that comes from seeing reality too clearly to keep playing the game everyone else still believes in. Watch a group of people at a gathering sometime. Really watch them. You'll notice they're all playing roles in an invisible play. Everyone knows the script without ever being taught. "How are you?" someone asks. "I'm fine," the other replies. And they both nod, satisfied, as though this shallow exchange has revealed something true. There's laughter at jokes that aren't funny, compliments that don't mean much, and polite sympathy that costs nothing. It's all part of a delicate social contract. Stay on the surface, keep things pleasant, and for heaven's sake, don't look too closely. But then there's you, the one who sees through it all. You can feel the unease behind the laughter. You notice the wife's subtle flinch when her husband speaks. You sense the colleagues smiling through quiet despair. You feel the tension in the air before anyone says a word. And once you begin to see these things, you can't unsee them. That's where the trouble begins, because your awareness becomes a kind of mirror, one that reflects back truths others are desperate to avoid. See, when you perceive what others are pretending not to notice, your very presence threatens their fragile equilibrium. Society is like a grand performance. Everyone wears a mask: the confident professional, the caring friend, the devoted parent. The show runs smoothly as long as everyone stays in costume. But you, with your inconvenient clarity, are like the audience member who suddenly stands up and says, "Wait, this isn't real." You break the spell, and nothing threatens illusion more than someone who refuses to pretend. That's the first danger: isolation. Not the ordinary kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from living in a reality no one else can see. You speak a different language. You notice things no one acknowledges. You feel like you exist slightly out of phase with the rest of the world. And the clearer your perception becomes, the more alien you feel. I once knew a woman like this. Let's call her Sarah. She had an uncanny ability to read people. Within minutes of meeting someone, she'd know what they were hiding, what they were afraid of, what they longed for but couldn't admit. At first, people were drawn to her. They said she was insightful, empathetic, deep. But over time, something changed. People began to pull away. Friends told her she was too intense, too serious. They said, "Can't you just relax? You read too much into things." But she couldn't stop. Seeing deeply isn't something you can turn off. Asking her to stop noticing would be like asking someone who can hear perfectly to stop hearing sound. That's the curse of awareness. Once it's awakened, it never truly sleeps again. And this leads to the second danger: the conflict between truth and belonging. When you see the truth behind appearances, you face an impossible choice. Do you speak it or stay silent? If you speak, you risk being attacked, not physically, but psychologically. People will accuse you of overthinking, of being dramatic, of making problems where none exist. They'll tell you that you are too negative or too sensitive. But if you stay silent, if you pretend not to see what you see, a different kind of damage begins. You betray your own perception. You start doubting your reality. Each time you agree with something false, each time you play along with a lie to keep the peace, a small part of your self-trust erodes. Eventually, you live in two worlds, one you perceive and one you're forced to pretend to believe in. That inner split creates a quiet madness. I once sat in a meeting where everyone was congratulating themselves on a successful project, even though it was obviously falling apart. The tension, the evasive smiles, the silence around key problems, it was all there. I pointed out some concerns, gently, and instantly I was met with hostility. Not argument, not logic, just defense, anger. It wasn't the facts that threatened them. It was the mirror I held up. And this brings us to the third danger, becoming the scapegoat. When people refuse to face uncomfortable truths, they often turn their discomfort toward whoever revealed it. You become the problem. You're accused of being difficult, dramatic, unstable. It's what I call the shooting of the messenger. When someone points out that the emperor has no clothes, the crowd doesn't thank them. The crowd attacks them because comfort is more important than truth. The labels they give you, paranoid, negative, too much, are all part of the same defense mechanism. It's easier to discredit the perceiver than to confront the perception. But that's not the end of it. There's a fourth danger, more subtle and destructive than the rest. When you constantly absorb the emotional undercurrents around you, the sadness, the anger, the fear, you start to lose track of what's yours and what's isn't. You walk into a room feeling fine and leave feeling anxious or heavy with no idea why. You're like a sponge, taking in everyone's unspoken emotions until your own sense of self begins to blur. You can't tell where you end and others begin. I've met many who live like this. They say things like, "I feel like I'm disappearing," or "I can't tell what's mine anymore." This isn't poetic exaggeration. It's what happens when boundaries dissolve under too much empathy. Your mind becomes crowded with other people's energy, and your own voice, your true center, grows faint. But here's where everything shifts, because the danger isn't in seeing too much. The danger is in not understanding what you're seeing or what to do with it. Once you understand the nature of this awareness, the gift hidden inside the curse reveals itself. The problem isn't your perception, it's your compulsion to act on everything you perceive. You feel someone's pain and rush to fix it. You sense dysfunction and try to correct it. You notice darkness and feel obligated to bring light. But the truth is, not every truth is yours to heal. Imagine you're standing beside a river and notice the water is muddy. Everyone walks by, oblivious. You could jump in, try to clear it with your hands, stir it endlessly, exhausting yourself while making the water even cloudier. Or you could simply note what you've seen, step back, and wait. The river will clear when the current allows. That's the wisdom of awareness without compulsion. Seeing doesn't mean intervening. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to change what you see, your vision becomes even clearer. Your presence becomes less threatening. People begin to feel safe around you, not because you're blind to their flaws, but because you're no longer trying to force them to confront what they're not ready to face. Think of how liberating it feels when someone truly sees you, sees your fears, your contradictions, your masks, and doesn't demand you be different. That's real acceptance. That's what mature awareness looks like. It's not cold detachment, nor moral superiority. It's quiet understanding. True clarity doesn't separate you from others. It connects you through compassion. But compassion isn't the same as rescuing. Seeing someone's pain doesn't mean it's yours to carry. Recognizing dysfunction doesn't mean it's your job to repair it. The ones who suffer most from awareness are not those who see too deeply, but those who fail to protect themselves while doing so. They absorb everyone else's chaos, trying to heal what isn't theirs to heal. The ones who thrive, they've learned a sacred skill to be in the world, but not of it, to see clearly without being consumed. They maintain what I'd call a conscious distance, not the distance of apathy, but the distance of wisdom. How do you build that? By solitude. Not the lonely kind, but the cleansing kind. Time spent away from the noise of other minds long enough for your inner waters to settle, until you can tell which emotions are truly yours. You also learn to trust your perception without letting it rule you. You can see the cracks in someone's life and still understand it's not your task to fix them. You can sense when something's wrong without leaping into rescue mode. Because the truth is, people awaken on their own schedule, not yours.